All right, guys, welcome back. This is about to be the Week 8 review for our Dynasty Football League Black Raw. Yeah, let's dive into it, see how the numbers stack up, and how the teams perform this week. Let's get it. Caleb's Casting Couch falling to Make America Great Again, 107.98 to 113.36. 50 Shades of Brown takes down Trust Fund QBs, 166.06 to 134.82. Hit the Saquon takes down Burrow and DD Cups, 142.02 to 113.98. Never Jamar Chase a Ho with the best game so far with 182.78 over 79.3 from Chef Seth. And then Wad Squad takes down Team Dagirin, 149.38 to 143.78. So had some good games so far. Or this week, and so what I'm going to do now is look at the weekly report, see how that makes things look around the league and some of the top performers. So starting off, of course, best team was Never Jamar Chaseho with 182.78, best performance of the year in the league history, I guess. So that's back-to-back weeks with a new season high, or I guess league high set. So things are trending up offensively, it seems like, for some teams. And then the worst team was Chef Seth, of course, who happened to be playing the best team possible. So if we go to some of the players of the week, we have Jalen Hurts from Make America Great Again, who put up 25.3. James Cook for Team Dagirin put up 38.6. Rasheed Rice for 50 Shades of Brown put up 25.5. And then Tucker Kraft also on 50 Shades of Brown put up 33.3. And then we have Chris Boswell, kicker, on Wad Squad put up 20. And then Trust Fund QB's defense put up 30.5. It was the Buccaneers. So pretty good players of the week. And then if we look at the bench formers of the week, we have Jordan Love put up 28.3. And he plays for Hit the Saquon. So rough spot on the bench for him. And then we have R.J. Harvey sitting on Caleb's casting couches bench with 24.1. And then we have Troy Franklin, who put up 26.9, was on the bench of Team Dagirin. And then we have Mason Taylor on Watt Squad's bench, who put up 14.4. And then kicker was Will Reichard, who was on Make America Great Again's bench, and he put up 5 points. And then on Hit the Saquon's bench, he had the Browns, who put up 12.5. So now looking at kind of some of the league awards, I guess, and how people performed statistically. We had the most efficient manager was Dylan, of course. He put up 182.78 out of 185.88, which was 98.3% efficiency. So I think that's arguably the highest efficiency rating we've seen so far. So great job by Dylan over there managing his team. Least efficient was Chef Seth, who only put up 79.3 out of a projected 101. And then the highest points in the loss was Team Dagirin, who put up 143.78 up against J-Wad and the Wad Squad, who put up 149.38 against him. And the lowest points in the win was Make America Great Again against Hoodie KJ's, or I guess my Cavs Casting Couch. The biggest blowout was, of course, Dylan over Chef Seth. Closest game was Make America Great Again versus Cavs Casting Couch. And then Dylan, overachiever, he put up 182.78 over a projected 131.55. So put up 51 points more than he was projected. Then underachiever was now solo number one up there, Wad Squad. He is the only 7-1 team, and Burrow and DD Cups now falls to second after a loss. 50 Shades of Brown and Hit the Saquon, both 4-4, are rising now to third and fourth. And then we have Trust Fund QBs, who has fallen from third place down to fifth. Make America Great Again goes from seventh to sixth at 4-4. Team Dagirin drops 3 spots to seventh at 4-4, and then Never Jamar Chase a Ho climbs up 1 from ninth to eighth, and following his win, and then Chef Seth, now on a 2-game losing streak, drops down to ninth. So like I mentioned, some of the winning and losing streaks. We have Wad Squad, who's on a 3-game winning streak. 50 Shades of Brown and Hit the Saquon are both on 2-game win streaks. And then losing streaks. Unfortunately, Trust Fund QBs is on a losing streak. Team Chef Seth is on a 2-game losing streak. So is Trust Fund QB. And then Chaos Caston's Couch on a 5-game losing streak. So it's not looking too good for Chaos Caston's Couch. But we're starting to see some separation up between the top and kind of the mid tiers. So Watch Squad is starting to break away a little bit. But in the middle, we have 5 teams sitting at 4-4. So a lot can happen now. The playoffs are still in view and in reach for a lot of teams. So we're going to see what happens if any trades come through for people trying to bolster themselves for the playoffs or kind of understanding their role and not wanting to make that push. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to take a look at some of the graphs now. All right, bear with me. We are going to go into a power ranking segment. This is going to kind of discuss a formula and kind of where that has each team based on how we have it. It's obviously subject to change, but we currently are taking into consideration things such as your win percentage, your average points, your consistency, your last 3 performances, and your strength of schedule. So I think in order of importance, it goes your average points, your consistency, your win percentage, your last 3 games, and your ceiling. So I think that's kind of how we got it set up right now. I'd squad in first. This makes a lot of sense because he is, I think, arguably I think he's the second most consistent. He has the second most highest points, or second most points, and he's got a really good defense as well. So that has Wad Squad first, Alburo and DD Cup second, 50 Shades of Brown third, Make America Great Again fourth, fifth is Trust Fund QBs, sixth is Hit the Saquon, Never Jamar Chase Aho in seventh, eighth is Team Dagirin, ninth, Caleb's Casting Couch, and Chef Seth in 10th. This, like I said, it weighs into a bunch of different factors, subject to change. I'll probably keep tweaking it around, especially as we see how the season goes and how things stack up, and to see if it's pretty, relevant to how things actually perform during the season. When we come towards the end of the season, I'll continue to mess around with it. We are going to look at the strength of schedule past. So starting off, who has faced the hardest teams up to this point? We see Never Jamar Chase Aho with 1 and Caleb's Casting Couch. So that means on average the score that they've or the rank of the team that they've faced has been the lowest. So they've basically faced the most comp up to this point. And then we look at Chef Seth, who has not faced a lot of comp up to this point. Understandable. Some schedules are milly-woppy and, you can't determine who's going to be good or whatever. But then we look at Wad Squad, who's faced the third most difficult schedule. So it's crazy because we have 2 people tied for second. Then we have third is Wad Squad. So if we look at who's in second, we have Team Dagirin and 50 Shades of Brown. So that means both of them, one of them is 400 and the other one is, I believe, 375. Going, or are they both 400? I think they might both be 400. So if they're both 400, then yeah, they're both 400, and they faced the second most difficult schedules up to this point. So a lot of things could be very good for them. But if we look at the future and who they're expected to play against, we have Make America Great Again, who is going to go against the hardest schedule, which isn't very exciting, though he is 4-4, so he still has a chance to make the playoffs and kind of fight for that position as he goes into this tougher stretch of games as the season concludes. And then we have Chef Seth, who has the second most difficult. It's going to be tough for him. And then we look at Never Jamar Chase Aho has the third highest difficulty coming up. It's not going to be good for him, and he's already been struggling up to this point. But like I said, his offense seems like they're really getting his stride, so that may not be too difficult for him as he takes down some of these higher-ranked teams. And then same for 50 Shades of Brown, who has the third hardest schedule coming up as well. So we'll really just see how things play out. Hopefully, we'll get a better understanding and can fine-tune these metrics a little more so that we can really kind of dive in and analyze the teams at a higher capacity and I guess a more accurate capacity as well. But now we're going to transition into some of the graphs that we have. Get some of these graphs. So we looked at them last week, but there's been a little bit of change. Of course, we still have in the top right. We have 50 Shades of Brown, of course. Best offense. Unfortunately, the worst defense. And then right there, not too far behind in the defense, is Caleb's Cast the Couch for me. So we're struggling here. But then we have this kind of group of, I believe these are all of the 5-5 teams. Excuse me. So it's kind of crazy to see here, but we have the teams that are struggling right here. So we have Make America Great Again, at Team Digurin. We have Trust Fund QBs. We have Never Jamar Chase Ho, and we have who is this here? Hit the Saquon. And so what's standing out to me about this is Never Jamar Chase Ho. They're 3-5, so they're not one of the 5-5 teams, but they're still in that same cluster. So it seems like at this point, that's kind of where they're going to end up falling. But like I said, there's some discrepancies just because of injuries, bye weeks, and sometimes forgetting to set lineups. So we'll see how things kind of continue to trend and go throughout the rest of the season. And so now if we move on to this weekly scoring consistency, going from left to right, we see Watt Squad, of course, nice high and pretty concise. So that's just a testament to his good offense and continuous scoring. But if we look at some of these other high ones, we have 50 Shades of Brown, who's pretty high, a little spread out due to some offensive outbursts and some kind of not necessarily letdown days, of course, but just not performing to the best of their ability. And then we look at this dark green right here. We have Never Jamar Chase Ho, and theirs is spread out pretty wide just because of this late offensive burst that we've been seeing from them. So it'll be nice to see how things continue to trend for them as the season goes. And then as we see some teams are kind of falling lower to the bottom, we have like Team Digurin, who's falling pretty low. Caleb's Cast and Couch falling pretty low, with a higher average area, but that low has really hurt me. And then we have Chef Seth as well with a pretty low, but a fairly decent average. So we'll just kind of see how things go from there. And then we'll come over here. Here we go. We're going to look at the weekly points line graph. And so this is just how each team has fared throughout the season. So if we start off with looking at some of these teams, like Trust Fund QB, started off really high over here at 168, but since then it's kind of leveled out and kind of found his medium in this seems like about a 125, 130-ish range. So we'll take a look at that and see where they kind of find their balance at, and then we see some teams that are pretty volatile. For example, we see this dark green. I believe that is Hit the Saquon. No, that is Never Jamar Chase Ho. So he's been kind of up and down, and then lately he's trending upwards. So it'll be nice to see how things play out for him as the season continues. And then we look at this orange. We have Team Digurin, who started off a little shaky, went pretty low, and then since then has bounced back up. So it seems like he's kind of got a level out up there. It's high 140s. It would be nice for him if he can maintain that, as he is 4-4 and trying to make a playoff push. And then we see Yusef in this light blue, who unfortunately was steady and then has kind of fallen off a little bit, and that's just has a lot to do with injuries and bye weeks. So we'll see if he can turn things around. And yeah, and then we see in this blue, dark blue right here, 50 Shades of Brown, who's maintained a pretty high level outside of 2 weeks, been arguably one of the top scorers. And so that's just testament to his offense and how high they or how well they're performing at this point in the season. And then let's see, where's our first place? It is the light blue. So first place, we see just a little bit of up and down, but especially since week 4 has just really found their stride and stayed in that high 150s range. And then even this week was 150, and that was fairly low for him. Or especially in context of these past few weeks. So yeah, that's kind of how the stats are looking up until this point. And yeah, so now we're going to transition into a little bit of a injury report based on this past week and how things played out, and we'll take a look and see how that kind of affects some of the teams and what'll be happening as we go into week 9. All right, looking at the injury report, got some big names on here, starting off with Cam Scatterbo and Carson Wentz. Unfortunately, Scatterbo seems like it's going to be a season-ending injury, and it's unfortunate because, he was really doing his thing and finding his stride. And he's a rookie, and he wasn't on a guaranteed contract, I don't think. So it's tough for him and Scatterbo owners. But starting off with quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, let's see, too early to tell if he'll be able to play this after the bye week. So no concrete on that right now. Michael Penix, let's see, he's still dealing with a knee injury. Hopefully, they're hoping he'll get back to practice this week. So that might bolster their offense because Kirk Cousins was terrible. So potentially help out Drake London and Bijan Robinson and even Darnell Mooney or Tyler Algier. Lamar Jackson, let's see, he was listed as a full practice participant. So that is exciting news. It was just a walkthrough, but hopefully he'll be able to return this week 9. And we'll never know. I mean, of course, you can't tell for sure, but huge boost to the Ravens. Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry might just really do their thing when he's back. Bryce Young, let's see here. He was able to return to practice on Wednesday in some capacity. So that would be big for the Panthers because they look terrible with Andy Dalton at QB. So Ted McMillan, he still was a fairly serviceable wide receiver in fantasy, but Chuba and Rico Dowdle were both not very good, and that's just because of the game script they were in. They were in a passing game script, so maybe when Bryce comes around, he'll make the running backs a little more valuable, and then Ted kind of maintains his value. Flacco is he got a shoulder injury, so if it's not a major issue, then that's good because who do they even have in? I forget. Prior to Flacco, Chase Brown, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase were all struggling. But since they've had Flacco these past 2 weeks, things have looked a lot better for them. So if you're owning any of those players, you're hoping that Flacco is good to go at the end of this week. Carson Wentz I heard that he was injured during the game, but they just didn't take him out. So unfortunate. He looked like he was in a lot of pain. But he's now going on IR, so he's going to miss at least 4 weeks. But of course, this says it's a season-ending shoulder injury. But J.J. McCarthy is supposed to be back. So let's hope that Jay Jettas and Jordan Addison can perform with J.J. McCarthy. Brock Purdy and Mac Jones are both apparently injured. I saw on Sleeper, but Purdy has a chance to return. So if he does, that would be great because Mac Jones, like I said, just got hurt, and then they would be on the QB3, which is never a good thing. And now if we look at some of these running backs, we have, of course, Scatterbo. He dislocated his ankle, and it's likely season-ending. He already had surgery. He's on the road to recovery, but yeah, it's not looking good for a regular season. It says there's a chance that he could return for a playoff push, um, but you don't want to bank on that too much. So that's all for running backs. We dive into wide receivers. Drake London, he's day to day. Puka Nakua is expected to return to practice tomorrow, so that's huge. And tomorrow, as in Wednesday, Nico Collins, he was out because of a concussion, and so hopefully he'll be past concussion protocol and be able to play in Week 9. Jacoby Myers, close to playing in Week 7, but he was inactive, so maybe he'll be back in Week 9. I believe they were on a bye last week, so hopefully this bye is giving him time to get back fully healthy. Ricky Pearsall, of course, still out. Says doesn't see any concrete information on that one. Calvin Ridley still struggling with his hamstring injury, and hopefully he can return to practice by Thursday. And then tight ends, Brock Bowers, expected to return to practice this week, so huge for Brock Bowers owners. He's high tier tight end 1, tight end 2 range, depending on who you look at, and that would be great for whatever that team is. I think it's James, and he's already doing great, so that would be even better for him. And then Bellinger from the Giants, he suffered a neck injury, but it looks like he won't miss any time. Another person on here that I know of that was missed was Quinshawn Judkins. I have him on my team. He came out of the game late Saturday or Sunday against who they play. I forget. But they were losing, and so he came out of the game. Hopefully he'll be back and not injured. They do have a bye in Week 9, so maybe he'll be back and healthy in Week 10, so he can put up some points for me in fantasy and help me turn around my season. Well, I kind of want to turn around, kind of don't, because Jeremiah love calling my name. That's all I gotta say. But let's see what we have here. If we have any bigger names, Lamar Jackson was back at practice. Pacheco is week to week. All right, last little bit here. We're gonna look at the head-to-heads for Week 9. We have Caleb's Casting Couch going up against Hit the Saquon. And, of course, not everybody has their lineup set up for next week, considering injuries and bye weeks and things like that. But right now it looks like Caleb's Casting Couch got the hedge over Hit the Saquon. Make America Great Again goes up against Trust Fund QBs. And Never Jamar Chase-A-Ho with a high projection, really high, up against 50 Shades of Brown with an also really high projection. So that'll be a pretty high-scoring contest, and it'll be exciting to keep up with that one. We have Team Digerin, who's going up against iBurrow and DD Cups, who 6-2, going up against 4-4. This will be a real test right here to see if iBurrow and DD Cups can bounce back, and then Team Digerin also see if they can bounce back off of a narrow loss. And then Wad Squad going up against Chef Seth, who it looks like is Wad Squad's going to take the edge there. It looks like right now. But yeah, Wad Squad with with the highest projection of the week. His team is, like I said, flying. So is 50 Shades of Brown. So it'll be really interesting to see who really pops off next week and who does their thing, and see if we see some shake up in the rankings. We got a couple 4-4 teams going up against each other, 3-5 against 4-4, and then a 4-4 versus 6-2. So some pretty good matchups, it seems like, and hopefully we can see who comes out on top and move up in the rankings and kind of as we get this playoff picture going into Week 9. So that's it for the Dynasty League review for week 8. So appreciate you if you tuned in, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week.